Italy's antitrust authority has imposed a hefty fine of €98.6 million on Apple, citing concerns that its app tracking transparency framework stifles competition within the App Store. This ruling, announced on December 24, 2025, raises significant questions about the balance between user privacy and fair competition in the tech industry. The Italian Competition Authority found that Apple's dominant position in app distribution allowed it to enforce ATT rules without consulting third-party developers. While the authority acknowledges Apple's intent to enhance user privacy, it argues that the consent requirements are overly burdensome, forcing developers to navigate complex permission prompts that Apple itself avoids. Next, we'll explore the implications of this ruling for Apple developers and the broader landscape of app privacy and competition. If you found this update helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to InfoSec Now for the latest cybersecurity news. Your support really helps us continue building useful content for cybersecurity professionals. The timeline of events leading to the €98.6 million fine against Apple began with the Italian Competition Authority's investigation, launched in May 2023. This inquiry was prompted by growing concerns regarding Apple's App Tracking Transparency (ATT) framework, which had been implemented in 2021. The AGCM scrutinized how this framework affected competition, particularly for third-party app developers who rely on advertising revenue. As the investigation progressed, the AGCM identified that Apple's dominant position in the app distribution market allowed it to impose the ATT rules without adequate consultation with developers. This unilateral approach raised alarms about fairness and equality in the app ecosystem. The authority found that the consent requirements under ATT were excessively burdensome, necessitating developers to navigate a complex dual consent process that contradicted the principles of privacy legislation. In March 2025, Apple's ATT framework faced scrutiny from other European regulators, notably resulting in a €150 million fine from France for similar antitrust concerns. This pattern of regulatory challenges highlighted a growing trend among European authorities to closely monitor and challenge the practices of major tech companies, particularly those that may inhibit competition under the guise of privacy protection. In response to the mounting pressure from regulators, Apple began proposing adjustments to the ATT framework. These proposed changes aim to simplify the consent process for developers, ensuring compliance with data protection laws while also addressing the concerns raised by competition authorities. However, the AGCM's ruling emphasized that these adjustments had not yet been implemented to a satisfactory degree. As Apple prepares to appeal the AGCM's decision, the company maintains that it is committed to strong privacy protections for users. Nevertheless, the ongoing scrutiny from various European nations indicates that the balance between user privacy and competitive fairness remains a contentious issue in the tech industry. The outcomes of these regulatory actions could have far-reaching implications for how tech giants operate within the European market. The recent fine imposed on Apple by Italy's antitrust authority signals a growing scrutiny of how major tech companies manage user privacy and competition. This ruling not only affects Apple but also sets a precedent for developers who rely on advertising revenue. The requirement for third-party developers to navigate complex consent protocols can lead to increased operational costs and may deter innovation in app development. As Apple faces backlash for its App Tracking Transparency (ATT) framework, developers are left grappling with the implications of the double consent requirement. This situation creates a disparity, as Apple's own apps can streamline the consent process while third-party developers must contend with a more cumbersome system. Such inequalities could limit the ability of smaller developers to compete effectively in the App Store, potentially stifling diversity in app offerings. Moreover, the ruling could encourage other European nations to reassess their own regulations regarding digital privacy and competition. With similar investigations underway in Poland and Romania, the European market may see a shift toward stricter enforcement of antitrust laws, potentially reshaping the landscape of app distribution. Apple's commitment to appealing the decision further complicates the issue, as it reflects the ongoing tension between user privacy and competitive fairness. This appeal may prolong uncertainty for developers, who are left waiting to see how the legal landscape will evolve. In response to these challenges, Developers may need to advocate for more equitable regulations that ensure fair competition while still protecting user privacy. As the tech industry continues to evolve, the balance between these competing interests will be crucial in shaping the future of app ecosystems. As Apple prepares to appeal the recent €98.6 million fine imposed by Italy's antitrust authority, the company faces a critical juncture in its approach to privacy and competition. The appeal process could take several months, during which Apple will need to navigate the complex landscape of European regulations and public sentiment regarding user privacy. In addition to the Italian investigation, Apple is under scrutiny from other European nations, including ongoing probes in Poland and Romania. This broader scrutiny suggests a growing consensus among European regulators about the need for fair competition in the digital marketplace, particularly concerning how major tech companies manage user data and privacy. Germany's antitrust authority has also indicated it is testing Apple's proposed changes to the app tracking transparency framework. These changes aim to address concerns regarding the consent process, potentially leading to a revised approach that could ease the burden on developers while still maintaining privacy protections for users. If successful, these adjustments could set a precedent for how consent is managed across the industry. Moreover, the findings from the Italian Competition Authority highlight a critical distinction in how Apple applies its privacy policies. While Apple asserts that its rules apply equally to all developers, the AGCM's ruling suggests that the practical implications of these rules disproportionately affect third-party developers. This discrepancy may prompt developers to advocate for more equitable treatment in their negotiations with Apple. The outcome of these investigations and Apple's response could significantly impact its business model, particularly in the lucrative advertising sector. As developers seek to adapt to these regulatory challenges, the balance between user privacy and competitive fairness remains a focal point of discussion within the tech industry. As Apple moves forward, the implications of this ruling and the ongoing investigations will not only shape its operational strategies but also influence how other tech companies approach similar privacy frameworks in the future. If you found this update helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to InfoSec Now for the latest cybersecurity news. Your support really helps us continue building useful content for cybersecurity professionals.